Thank you for joining me in the room today. Our topic is create your exact roadmap. Hello, everyone. I'm Dominique. I'm the creator and host of Educate Your Space, and I'm so excited to talk about how I created my exact roadmap. You may have definitely decided to create your roadmap this year, and it is going along well. But I want to definitely point out some ways that you can make sure that you are taking advantage of that roadmap along the way and not just pinning it up against the wall or just creating a vision board and that's your roadmap and it's a pretty poster. Okay, we got to do a lot more than put it up on a wall. All right, so 6 years ago I was working at a school that was my dream school. I was in a position of responsibility. I had the job that I loved. I was in a position of responsibility. I had the salary I wanted. I had the position that I wanted. My I was placed in that position because I had the experience and the level of expertise that my employers wanted. So I absolutely um, was excited and I felt accomplished to be in that position. So what happened next was I discovered I was up for non-renewal within 6 months of starting that position. And again, it was a job I loved. I was in a position of leadership, and I felt like I had arrived, accomplished a level of leadership that I could now scale and move up into the ranks of leadership. I had already been a classroom teacher for, a couple decades. So that was alarming to find out I was up for non-renewal, and it just melted away everything I just said. My idea of going up in the ranks of leadership and actually getting endorsements from my current supervisor. So what was I to do, right? I discovered that day that I was not in control of my destiny, and I learned that day that somebody else was in control of my destiny, and what was I going to do? So uh, I decided that day, no more, no more. It was I felt like the rug had been pulled from under me. I had not experienced that before, especially how much it took to be hired into that position. So if you've been in a similar situation, then you definitely can relate to the story. This experience that I'm sharing and how it can relate to creating your exact roadmap. We'll get to it, but Nikki, go ahead, say hi.
Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm at school. I was listening to everything you said, but give me 1 second.
Sure, just chime in when you're ready. And so,
Okay,
creating
so
that
sorry.
exact road. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so sorry. So Dominique, what was your question? Love. I
Say
was listening to
hi.
you how you said,
Say hi.
oh, hey, I heard how you were talking about how people, they were in control of your destiny and all that, and I was like, yeah, that's 100% true, dead on.
Yeah. So, not only did I feel like others were in control of my destiny, but what the next year sucked. I tiptoed around my bosses. I was walking on eggshells. I felt like it's more important to have a relationship so that I'm on the retention list at work instead of the exit list at work. It was a game that I was not prepared to play. As a classroom teacher, my first mission is to educate the kids and um, increase their level of performance one whole grade level each and every year. It's not to focus on who likes me and who does not like me. But what that experience taught me was if you don't have a relationship with your supervisors, you're definitely treading on thin ground, and you better watch your back, especially when you're in a position of leadership. I had always managed to, get another contract, be a classroom teacher. As soon as I was um, hired for a position of leadership as a mentor teacher, all of a sudden it became a major big deal because where would I find the endorsement and the level of what I had to go through to get that job? Where would I find that again? It was not easy to get. It took months. It took about 2.5 months to get that particular position, and they evaluated you for classroom and then upper, a mentor or master teacher, and I qualified for the mentor teacher position. How would I go through such a grueling process again after what happened to me? And then especially if I'm up for non-renewal, it was my first position. I'd have to find a whole nother first position because this one would be nullified pretty much, and I would have to start over again and then build upon it. And was I up for that? I don't know if you want to chime in and say something. Go ahead.
No, I totally feel you on that 100% because you're right. When you don't have a relationship with your supervisor, it's not just about like the kids learning is really important, but that's not everything. It's probably like 60-40, 40% students learning, 60% relationships that you have with your supervisors and stuff like that. That's really, really, really important. So I fully understand. And the education environment, it's just really changed. It's evolved. Do you think so?
Oh yeah, it's a business, and I remember when it changed. I remember when it changed around 2009. I've been teaching since 1989, and back then you had your classic educators, your classic nurturing souls who were educators for 30 years, and they as classroom teachers, and then moved into the ranks of supervisor and leadership positions. As soon as the more state accountability or district accountability came to pass, No Child Left Behind, I can definitely pinpoint it to that that term of presidency with George Bush Jr., where the policies were definitely on districts to make sure that all subgroups in your school population achieved, a grade level or above each and every year. I That was it. It was all about accountability. AYP came into effect, acceptable yearly performance, and it went from there. Prior to 2009, I don't remember AYP. I don't remember any of that. So that's a good thing. However, what it ushered in was less educator-based strategies versus in exchange for business. You had to earn your position each and every year. Before 2009, you had lifetime uh, contracts, and you basically were, tenured, renewed, just like that. And then after that, it started this cycle up. They did not issue. I was in in the state of Texas, and at that time there were no more. The issuance of that type of certificate was not available anymore. You were not going to get that. So you had a performance evaluation, and you had to meet the terms of that performance. So what this talk is about today is creating that exact roadmap and using those experiences to your advantage, because you're not in the wrong for having jobs, and you're not in the wrong even if you don't have the relationship that you think you need to have. None of that. You're just putting too much emphasis on that particular scenario, that particular relationship. And what I want to do is focus on what we can do. Um, and what I have is I have a resource. I'm going to pin it up to the top. And so, in the meantime, I don't know if you want to chime in. If you have comment, you can go ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think you're absolutely right about the changes and things like that that have happened. I didn't see the major changes. Became a teacher in, God, what year was it? I graduated in 2010, college, so it was about 2012. I started teaching in 2012. Yeah, 10 years. And man, it was completely different. The people, the leadership, everything had changed from when I was little, and the leadership from when I was a kid, they actually like cared about the kids. But now, oh, sorry, Dominique, I gotta run. School starting.
Okay, have a good day. So, how do you use your talent and your experiences to your advantage? Well, the first thing you want to do is realize that, again, there's nothing wrong with your path. You may be with or in the wrong environment, and that's fine because you can always change your environment. The the charge or the challenge is for you to recognize that there's more than one way to live out your career, to live out your dreams, than be in a position of scrutiny uh, at the hands of others. Okay, so that's the major awareness piece right there. You have to realize, and it's not easy because you have gone to school, you have invested, you have made yourself suitable for applications and interviews and the opinions of employers. That's what you've done. You've made yourself a possible candidate. That's what you've looked for. How can I become a candidate to be hired? That's what you've done. So there's a major level of disappointment when in fact you realize that they are human too, and they are trying to stay in a position of employment too. And if you're in a particular environment where they have to put somebody up for non-renewal or whatever they're doing, they are absolutely in control of your destiny. They're pulling all the strings. That is the biggest piece of awareness that needs to be put on the table. Okay, you were never going to have a position with an employer that, especially these days, that's sealed, signed and sealed, and lifelong. They did away with that a long time ago, and I was there. They stopped issuing lifetime certificates, and in the business sector, you already know there's no such thing. Okay, there's no such thing. You are always up for performance evaluation and whatever they call it where you are, you're always up for the scrutiny of others. So that control is something that we don't go into the business sector thinking about. And I think that's where the letdown happens, first and foremost. You're let down by the promise, the promise of employment, the promise of I did everything I was supposed to do, so the promise of fairness, if I do this and that, I'm going to have a job. It disillusioned you into thinking that the career um, experience was, was kind of like a fairy tale. You know, it simplified it for you, and you thought that's, I do my part, you do your part, and I retire with my, 25 years in at the same place. So that's the revelation, and I definitely don't want to um, go past your level of awareness, because that's the biggest piece right there. Did you realize that you're going to have to actually um, be scrutinized by others? Did you realize, all these revelations come to pass when a situation like that happens to you? Okay? All right, so that's the point of connection that I wanted to establish. Hopefully you absolutely are, giving me a thumbs up, because yes, absolutely it's true. Whether it's happened to you or someone that you know, it could be your spouse, it could be family members. Absolutely. Oh, hey, Ralph.
Hey, how you doing? How are you?
Good,
How's
good.
everything?
Yeah, I saw that heart.
Sorry I didn't
What's
come
the
up
heart for?
earlier. Ah, okay. Huh? I'm sorry, what did you say?
I saw that emoji. What's the heart for?
Oh, you're right on. You're right on point. Can you hear me?
Yes. So,
Oh,
yeah. So that's why
that.
we're talking about creating your exact roadmap today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So my friend down there, Martin, he just flew in from England to
Yes,
Japan.
Martin. Hey, Martin. Mhm.
He. I'm sorry. It's okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to what you're saying and things are very interesting. Getting business up, your followers, your income. Oh, that's such a challenge.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm not alone. Um, the reason why people want to create their own roadmap is because they realize there is a thankless, you know, scenario waiting for you. Uh, I have teenage kids, and one has sickle cell. Uh, he had a job with a phone carrier that um, that he loved. He loved that. Here's another. This is very typical. Um, at 19, he's 20 now. So last year, they let him go because he had a pain crisis. Ended up in the hospital. He needed a certain amount of days to recoup once he was back home. And do you know that because he didn't have XYZ time on the books, they said that's terms for removal, or terms for whatever, losing your job, firing, whatever. Okay. Yes,
Termination, termination.
termination. He was let go. Yes, he was let go. He was let go. So it's it's definitely a thankless environment, you guys. It's definitely not a forgiving um, industry, no matter what industry you're in. Pregnant women know it. If once you're pregnant and you go home, take care of your baby, they're on to the next. They've found somebody to take your spot. It is thankless, and it's definitely not yours to keep, even if they say you have job protection. So we can focus on that, or we can focus on creating a roadmap. That's what we can focus on. So the sooner the better. And when that termination happened to my 19-year-old, I said, good. I, you know, pointed out to him. I pointed out to him yeah, take a look at that. That's going to happen over and over again. I did not experience termination in my early 20s. Um, I knew that what I was doing was not what I wanted to do. I went ahead and became a teacher. But yeah, I think it's good when you learn that there's no love loss. You know, there is no love loss. You will be terminated quickly, and that should definitely open your eyes to you need to create your exact roadmap. You need to uh, make sure that you are the only one that can pull the rug from underneath you and nobody else. Okay? Um, if you pull the rug from underneath your feet, then absolutely it probably wouldn't happen, or if it did, then you've got to pick up the pieces. And it's different because that external, somebody else pulling the rug from underneath you, you're left with so many questions, so many disillusional thoughts that you had about what the relationship really was, okay? And you never want it to happen again. But guess what? If you have control, you can embark on into partnerships, relationships, whatever, and it's a piece of the puzzle. It's a piece of the puzzle. It is not all or nothing. It is not going to leave you stranded. You know, uh, and that's why you want to create your exact roadmap. I think Ron wanted to come up, but I'm not able to. Ralph, can you try to bring him up?
I need to be a moderator. But if you sent him a invite, just tell him to come back. Tell him to press his icon, and you'll say accept invite in the bottom, unless he doesn't want to come up.
Yeah, I made you a moderator.
Okay, I sent an invite.
Thanks, guys, for wrestling with the logistics and getting me up. This is Ron. Can you hear
You're
me?
welcome. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I'd appreciate a explication or definition of roadmap. I hear a lot of talk in clubhouse groups. I tend to participate in a lot of clubhouse groups about plans and strategy and tactics and policies and procedures. It seems like nobody's doing a very good job of separating those concepts. And one of the most popular is roadmap or purpose. So if you would start by saying what you mean by a roadmap, and you refer to an exact roadmap, so there must be a precision version of roadmaps. What is a roadmap, and how different from strategy, tactics, purpose, goals, and plans?
Okay, so for me, having a destination for your career is something that we focus on in terms of preparing for college, preparing for the workforce, um, being presentable to employers, passing an interview, uh, passing our performance reviews. That is a separate roadmap that leads to eventual retirement that we place a lot of emphasis on, and I know that um, the partnership roadmap, but you need to have a unique roadmap and vision for your life, because it will come to pass where you will end up in the wrong environment, and you will have your either career plans or your income plans or whatever plans derailed by others. And the
Sounds
exact
like
roadmap,
a life purpose or calling.
the exact roadmap I'm talking about has to do with how each individual can go ahead and map out their vision and how they can control it for themselves.
Their vision, as in their life purpose or calling, or vision in some other sense. Is it a venture vision? Is it the purpose of the venture? Please.
All right, so what that looks like is income-based roadmap, how you make money. That's what we focus on in Educate Your Space. How to make money with your experience, your expertise, your vision, and your goals. So a roadmap would feed you exactly what your trajectory should be, what you're working on for the year, the quarter, the week, the day, the hour, instead of focusing on pleasing others, tiptoeing around others at the job. You already know that maybe you do have a partnership with the job, but then you also are working on your business, and that business is thriving, and you never put all of your eggs into one basket. Did that make sense?
I think it's making sense. Let me say it back, see if I got it. It's a collection of goals, which you're confident of will will make money and fit your life purpose. And when you said goals, you meant daily goals, weekly goals, project goals, all the different senses of goals.
Yeah, because if you think about your work environment, each and every day you have tasks, you have to show up, you have to, dress code, uh, weekly expectations, weekly objectives, all of that happens on the job. But that job is thankless. It is not a relationship that is set in stone. You are subject to your latest performance evaluation, the latest turnaround tactics by the company. You do not control what happens with that job or even on the job. But if you have your own roadmap for yourself and you develop your expertise and how you make money with that expertise, then you can strategize. You can have different uh, opportunities that include, a job or collaborations, whatever it is. You have more control over that, including online business where it's not a physical, I have to show up. That alone uh, derails a lot of professionals in their career, because maybe they get sick or maybe they have to take care of a loved one. They can't go to the job. So, like I just talked about my son, and if that happens, you're terminated because you can't show up. So, having your exact roadmap of how you will develop yourself into the future with your own opportunities, um, and along the way, whatever you do with partnerships or employers, whatever, it's a part of the puzzle. It's not the be all end all, so that they can rip the rug from under you and you are left wondering, and at the wrong time and space, what do I do now?
A self development plan that does not depend on the company that I'm working for.
Yeah, any employer.
Thank you. I think I've got it. Does it sound like I got it?
Exactly. Yep, that's what we're talking about. So I am definitely glad that you guys were able to come in and chime in on this because obviously it's very common where you are so tied to your employer that if anything happens, you're devastated. And I think there are too many opportunities out here today where you can't really say you didn't know or you couldn't have come up with an exact roadmap that gives you that ability to be independent and make money on your own. You can't really say even though it's not easy, uh, it's definitely a step in the right direction. And most of the time, if you think about your experience or your expertise, you feel much more accomplished knowing that, you know what, I created this opportunity myself, or, I partnered with somebody and I've been making money doing this outside of employment, and you feel so much better. You feel like you've got options. You feel like, if one shoe drops, you've got the other shoe.
So it also includes backup plans and options. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I looked at your profile and stuff, but yeah, when you look at a roadmap is just pretty much the easiest way to explain it would be an example of somebody from the day they born to the day they die. That's the easiest roadmap because as you're going through that, there are things that you're going to be able to affect yourself, but then there's going to be other things that's going to affect or outwardly. Yeah. So roadmap is just what it is. To just it is an adventure that starts from one place and ends at one place, and then it's up to us to decide where during that travel that we want to stop or pass or build on or let go or you know destroy. As far as putting something together and taking it apart and things like that. So, in basic terms, that's all it is. Can you hear me? Sorry, I got a red bar. Hello?
No, I can hear you.
And how does a roadmap differ from a strategy? Did you hear me? You guys are both muted. How does a roadmap differ from a strategy?
Okay, well, they're both pretty much the same. They're just we call them synonyms. A roadmap has a beginning and it has a goal. A strategy has a beginning and it has a goal. And it just depends on the person how they want to fill in the stops in between their goal and the beginning and then their goal. So pretty much they're just synonyms. I'm almost sure if you're looking at this source, roadmap and strategy, they're going to be synonyms.
Is it also synonymous with plan?
Well, yeah, of course. You got a plan has a beginning, right? And it has an end. And then in that plan, you're going to make different stops where you want to go to and stay for an hour, stay for 20 years, whatever, stop, go, build, tear down. And it's always going to be an end. So so I understand you asking these questions, but I mean, think about it. We already have a strategy. That's the strategy of life. That's our main roadmap or strategy or goal or whatever that we're having. And along that tour, then we just have to build and pretty much go through that, travel the best we can, and have as much fun as we can.
What do you mean by including the end? And in my venture activities and those that I watch that are successful in others' hands, they don't plan the end. They hope to keep getting better and stronger and wealthier and more successful. Why plan the end?
No, I didn't say you plan an end. There is an end. There's always going to be an end, regardless whether you plan for it or not. We could plan for it because the end, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what happens at the end because there's always an end. Just in case if you get fired or just in case you get divorced or just in case if you make a million, your goal is to make $1 million. Now you made that $1 million, then what you're going to do next? So the end is just only means that terminal point, but that doesn't mean, and if you're still breathing, that doesn't mean that you can't start, draw another arrow or whatever in another direction.
Is it a contingency plan for failure?
I don't think people plan to fail, but they do have these motivators saying that how they say that failure is good and all of that stuff. I don't really listen to that, but a lot of people do say plan to fail because of some stuff like that. But that's, I never really got into it. I don't think you should plan to fail. It doesn't make any sense to do that, but understand that you might not achieve the plans that you want via many, many reasons, and some of them you don't have control over. And I wouldn't, and I think that the word fail, it might be a little harsh. It just maybe, but I mean, it's okay. But I would just say something like, well, sometimes just keep in mind that you might not achieve that goal.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're able to have this conversation. And that's what Educate Your Space is all about. You got to diversify.
And does diversify refer to being in multiple businesses, multiple projects, multiple ventures? What do you mean by diversify?
Well, pretty much I'm talking about if you have a job, you need to diversify.
By diversify, it just means have other plans. That's all. So in other words, when you're cooking at home and you have a family, you're cooking for your family. You can't just cook what you want to eat. If other people want to eat other things, then you got to diversify and cook that meal or do this or do that because everyone might not like the same thing unless you just force it on them. But still, so that's all diversifying. Just change. That's all. Change direction.
All right, you guys, I'm going to close the room. Thank you for having this talk.
Okay, thank you. Bye.